In Scotland, people are used to the rain. The worst flood ever recorded in the Hill Foots happened in late August 1877, when the area was hit by a heavy summer storm. On the evening of Monday 27th August, the heavens opened. The rain was torrential and relentless. In Tillicoultry the following morning, mill workers making their way for their 6 a.m. starts were absolutely drenched by the time they arrived. 2 hours later, thick black clouds formed, and the resulting rain lashed down, creating a white foam over Tillicoultry Hill. One eyewitness, Mr. Bennett, a former Dollar Academy teacher, said, "The front of Tillicoultry Hill looked like a waterfall, so gigantic as to dwarf Niagara 10 times multiplied." He described it as not simply heavy rain, it was a terrific downpour, persistent, incessant, a perfect sheet of water. The burn turned into a raging torrent at speeds never seen before. The first area it hit was the top of the Burnside, then Mill Street and High Street. Roads disappeared and became rivers within minutes. Huge boulders dislodged from the hill hit the side of the Burns walls. This sound alerted the townsfolk to just how ferocious this catastrophe was. Mill workers found themselves trapped with the water rising steadily. In the High Street, homes were destroyed and businesses waterlogged. People tried to barricade their front doors, but to no avail. The water continued towards the southern edge of the town, threatening to flood Peyton's Mill in Lower Mill Street. The workers, however, managed to put barricades and sandbags in place, and this diverted the water away from the mill. The fields became lochs, with the River Devon bursting its banks, unable to cope with the volume of water gushing into it. At around 8:30 that morning, at the Castle Mills near the entrance to the glen, William Hutchison, one of the mill owners, went out onto the wooden bridge which connected one part of the mill to another. The raging water passed beneath him. He was joined by Andrew Marshall, a finisher, a young mill worker called Isabella Miller, and a dyer, William Stilley. Marshall warned Hutchison that the bridge was in danger of being washed away, but the owner had replied that he'd seen the burn that high once before. Barely had Marshall said, "You may have done that, but you never heard so many stones coming down," when the bridge was swept away, and all with it, except Marshall, who'd been standing on the edge only a few inches from them. Stilley managed to grab hold of Isabella, but the two were torn apart further down the burn when a rock struck and separated them. He eventually seized a metal stanchion which was supporting a cellar window of a house belonging to Mrs. Alexander Robertson, who lived next to Walker's Mill, further down the burn. Stilley was pulled to safety. The search began for Hutchison and Isabella. Meanwhile, workers in the power loom shed of Hutchison and Coy's ran out to see what had happened. That proved to be a life-saving decision, as the west end of the mill gave way and was carried down the burn, along with looms and chutes. The roads on either side of the burn from the Head O'Toole Brig to the Middle O'Toole Brig were washed away. It was thought the Middle Bridge was in danger of being washed away too, however local men shored it up with barrels filled with stones. A shop belonging to James Hutton withstood the flood for a long time, but eventually, due to being battered with huge boulders, the gable end gave way. A suspension bridge was also swept away. Homes suffered damage too, due to boulders smashing up against them. At 2 p.m, The body of Hutchison was recovered near Oak Mill Bridge, having travelled around 1,000 yards. The search continued for Isabella, but her body was only found on 1st September at Glenfoot, where Tillicoultry Burn joins the River Devon. The day following the flood, most of the mills in the town reopened, despite some workers spending much of the night clearing debris and watching as the weather deteriorated once more. The rain poured down, and people living on the burnside prepared for more destruction. Men did what they could to shore up barricades. The town council opened the Popular Institute to receive furniture being salvaged from houses under threat. The rain finally receded at 6 o'clock in the morning. On the day Isabella's body was found, the Alba Advertiser reported that the only word they could use to define the destruction was indescribable. The water had devastated the Burnside and High Street, where boulders lay discarded, and what was left of the road was broken and almost impassable. Such was the power behind the flow, the burn had managed to reroute itself, leaving mud feet deep, gas pipes exposed, street lamps, walls and trees uprooted, and a new pavement destroyed. It took weeks for repairs to be carried out and for the town to return to normal, with the estimated cost of the clear-up costing between £7,000 and £8,000. Nearby Dollar suffered too that August day, with roads washed away and bridges in the glen washed downstream. Houses on the Burnside were badly damaged as the burn overflowed in every direction. The semi-detached villa of Mr. Robertson, a manufacturer, was severely damaged. The front wall burst in, and all the furniture was swept away in the torrent. There was a close call for some ladies who were visiting the village from Edinburgh and staying in one of the Burnside villas. They were having breakfast at around 7 a.m. when they were told to evacuate, and just 10 minutes later, the wall to the property caved in. An account by an eyewitness in the village said the burn was more like a river, and he heard a low rumbling sound as trees and boulders were tossed about in the water. The whole railway line between Tillicoultry and Dollar was submerged under several feet of water, and in places it was as deep as 6 to 8 feet. Earth under the sleepers was washed away, and at Dollar Station, where severe flooding caused by trees and debris blocked the burn nearby, was inaccessible, as this debris was pushed onto the line along with mud and boulders. The station house itself was soon under several feet of water. Fields between Tillicoultry and Dollar were swamped, destroying large crops of potatoes and turnips. The clear-up operation, with a focus on getting trains running again, began as soon as the rain subsided, with navvies temporarily repairing breaches and diverting the water and clearing debris from the tracks. However, it took some time to fix the sleepers. The 1877 flood would go down in history as the worst flooding ever seen in the hill foots. If you enjoyed this episode of Scotland's History, please like, comment and subscribe. Until next time, thank you for watching.